Out of nowhere, after weeks or even months of silence, his name appears on your phone. No messages before, no calls, no explanation, just one unexpected text. Instantly, your emotions kick in, your heart races, and your mind starts filling in the blanks. Why is he reaching out now? Did he finally realize what he lost? Has he been thinking about me all this time? Before you let those thoughts take over, it's important to pause. His return isn't always a sign of love or regret. In many cases, it has far more to do with what's happening in his own world than with how he feels about you. Maybe another relationship didn't work out. Maybe he's dealing with loneliness. Or maybe he simply believes you'll still be waiting exactly where he left you. This is where so many people get pulled back into old patterns. If you assume his return automatically means he's changed, you can easily end up reliving the same heartbreak. That's why clarity matters before emotion. In this video from Love by Matt, we're looking at the real reasons men come back after no contact. No unrealistic promises, no fairy tales, just honest insight that helps you stay in control. This time, instead of reacting emotionally, you'll know how to respond with confidence. Let's begin with one of the hardest truths to accept. Sometimes a man returns because the other opportunities he pursued didn't turn out the way he expected. It may not feel good to hear, but recognizing this actually protects your heart. When he disappeared, there's a good chance his attention shifted elsewhere. Maybe he wanted to explore another relationship, chase something new, or simply see what else was available. At that point, he convinced himself moving on would be easy, and that replacing what you shared wouldn't be difficult. Then reality stepped in. The new connection lacked substance. The excitement wore off. What looked promising wasn't nearly as fulfilling as he imagined. Eventually, he started comparing those experiences to what he once had with you. He remembered your understanding, your support, and the comfort he felt around you. So he reaches out again. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. Is he coming back because he genuinely wants a future with you, or because the alternatives disappeared? Those are two very different motivations. A man who truly chooses you shows it through clear actions. He communicates consistently, puts in effort, and makes his intentions obvious. A man who's simply returning because he's out of options often brings uncertainty. His words and actions don't fully match. You may notice hesitation, inconsistency, or the feeling that he's still not completely invested. This is why you shouldn't rush to welcome him back. Watch what he does, instead of getting carried away by the fact that he returned. His message isn't proof that he's earned another place in your life. Of course, not every man comes back because other options failed. Sometimes the reason is much quieter. He misses the way he felt when he was with you. Around you, he may have felt accepted without judgment. He felt understood, appreciated, and emotionally safe. Those kinds of connections aren't easy to find, and once they're gone, the absence becomes noticeable. As time passes, conversations with other people may feel shallow. The emotional connection isn't the same. Something feels missing, and he starts linking that feeling to you. But there's an important difference to understand. He may not actually be missing you as an individual. He could simply be missing the experience you gave him. That's not the same thing. When emotional comfort is what draws him back, his approach usually feels familiar. He'll send a casual message, bring up old memories, joke about shared experiences, or act as though no time has passed. It can feel effortless and comforting. Just don't mistake comfort for commitment. Feeling good together doesn't automatically mean the relationship has evolved. Familiarity can bring someone back, but it doesn't guarantee they've grown or that they're ready to build something healthier. So instead of getting caught up in the nostalgia, pay close attention. Is he showing you meaningful change through his actions? Or is he simply trying to recreate the same relationship that fell apart before? Real interest always moves the relationship forward. Comfort, on the other hand, often keeps people attached to what already happened. Sometimes his return isn't really about you, and it isn't even about love. It's simply about timing. When he walked away or disappeared, he may not have been in a place where he could build a healthy relationship. Maybe work consumed all of his attention. Maybe he was dealing with personal struggles, emotionally closed off, or simply unwilling to commit. Instead of being honest about that, he chose to create distance. But life changes. Circumstances evolve. Priorities shift. Months later, he may feel less overwhelmed, more emotionally stable, or more open to the idea of a relationship. From his perspective, reconnecting suddenly feels possible, so he reaches out. Here's what you have to remember. Just because the timing feels right for him now doesn't mean it's right for you. This is where many women give away their power. They see his return as proof that fate has finally brought them back together. But sometimes the only thing that's changed is his situation. His life became easier, so now he has room for you. Before you welcome him back, ask yourself an important question. Besides his availability, what has actually changed? Being available doesn't automatically mean someone is ready. Genuine readiness shows itself through clear intentions, consistent actions, and a willingness to build something different. Without those things, it's not the right timing. It's simply a temporary opportunity. And temporary opportunities rarely create lasting relationships. Now let's talk about something that confuses a lot of people. Not every "I miss you" comes from the same place. When a man returns, he's usually driven by one of two emotions: genuine regret or simple loneliness. Knowing which one you're dealing with can completely change how you respond. Real regret runs deep. It comes after reflection. It means he's honestly looked at what happened, accepted his role in it, and understands what he lost. A man who truly regrets his actions won't rely only on words. You'll see the difference through his behavior. He'll communicate more clearly, stay consistent, and be willing to have uncomfortable conversations about the past. He accepts responsibility instead of avoiding it. Loneliness is completely different. Loneliness isn't necessarily about missing you. It's about trying to escape an empty feeling. Maybe he's bored. Maybe he feels disconnected. Maybe he simply misses having someone familiar to talk to. In those moments, your presence becomes comforting. So he reaches out, looking for relief rather than real commitment. The difficult part is that loneliness can sound almost identical to genuine regret. He may suddenly become affectionate, say everything you've wanted to hear, and make it seem like he's finally changed. But once that lonely feeling passes, so can his effort. That's why patience matters. Don't judge his intentions by one conversation or one emotional message. Watch what happens over time. Is he taking responsibility for what happened? Is he making different choices? Or is he simply trying to restart the same relationship without changing anything? Regret creates growth because it encourages real change. Loneliness usually pulls both of you back into the same cycle that ended the relationship before. There's another reason men often come back, and it's far more common than most people realize. Sometimes his ego gets involved. When you stopped chasing him, respected the silence, and continued living your life without trying to win him back, something unexpected happened. You became unpredictable. That uncertainty naturally sparks curiosity. He begins asking himself questions. Why hasn't she reached out? Has she moved on? Is someone else in the picture now? Suddenly, his attention returns. But that doesn't always mean his feelings have become stronger. Sometimes he's simply uncomfortable because he no longer feels in control of the situation. If he became used to your attention, your quick replies, or knowing you'd always be there, Your absence removes a source of validation. Instead of sitting with that feeling, he reaches out to see if he still has access to you. That's why his first message is often casual and effortless. It might be something as simple as, "Hey, how have you been?" Or a random reaction to one of your social media stories. At first glance, it can seem harmless or even exciting. But don't focus only on the message itself. Pay attention to what comes after it. Is he making a genuine effort to rebuild trust? Or is he simply checking whether the door is still open? Sometimes his message isn't really about building a future together. Sometimes it's simply a way of finding out if he still has a place in your life. That's why you need to be careful. If you immediately respond with excitement, warmth, or complete availability, you may end up giving him exactly what he was looking for. The reassurance that you're still waiting for him just as before. Instead, stay centered. Ask yourself one simple question. Is he honestly trying to rebuild this relationship, or is he only checking whether he still has access to me? Curiosity disappears quickly. Genuine intentions don't. Real intentions are backed by consistency, effort, and clear direction. When someone returns after months of silence, it's natural to feel a mix of excitement, relief, and hope. It can feel like a chapter you thought was over has suddenly reopened. For a moment, it's easy to believe this is the fresh start you've been waiting for. But this is exactly when you should slow down. His return alone doesn't prove that anything has actually changed. If you rush back into the relationship without paying attention, you may end up repeating the exact same story, with a different beginning but the same painful ending. One of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing attention with genuine commitment. Sending messages, making calls, or showing temporary interest doesn't automatically mean someone is prepared for a healthy relationship. Attention is easy to give because it feels good in the moment. Real intention requires ongoing effort, emotional maturity, and the willingness to stay consistent even when things aren't easy. The reality is that many men return without doing the inner work needed to create a different outcome. They haven't honestly reflected on the past or grown from it. They're simply responding to emotions they're experiencing right now. Loneliness, nostalgia, curiosity, or a desire for familiarity. If you immediately lower every boundary and slip back into the old dynamic, nothing really changes. The cycle simply begins again. That's why healthy boundaries matter so much. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out or acting cold. They're about protecting your peace while giving someone the opportunity to show you who they really are. Pay attention to his actions this time around. Does he remain consistent, or does he disappear once he feels comfortable again? Is he willing to talk openly about what happened, or does he avoid every difficult conversation? Is he making meaningful effort, or is he doing only enough to keep your attention? Someone who truly values you won't just come back. He'll come back as a different version of himself. At the same time, don't ignore your own emotional response. His return can stir up old hopes, old attachments, and even old fears. If you aren't aware of those emotions, they can easily make your decisions for you. Give yourself permission to slow everything down. You don't owe anyone immediate answers, instant forgiveness, or emotional access. Let time reveal whether this version of him is truly different, instead of assuming that it is. And remember something incredibly important. His decision to come back doesn't automatically give him a permanent place in your life. You're not the same person you were when he left. You've learned valuable lessons. You've experienced the pain of someone walking away. Now you have the chance to make choices that protect your future instead of repeating your past. So how can you tell if this reunion is actually different? How do you know this isn't just another cycle repeating itself? The answer isn't found in his promises, it's found in his patterns. Not every man who comes back has the wrong intentions. Some people genuinely grow. Some truly recognize what they lost. But you'll never know by listening only to what he says. You'll know by watching what he consistently does. The first sign is clarity. A man who genuinely wants another chance doesn't leave you wondering where you stand. He doesn't rely on vague conversations, confusing signals, or endless uncertainty. He's honest about why he reached out, what he wants now, and what kind of future he's hoping to build. You won't have to decode his behavior because he'll communicate it openly. The second sign is accountability. Rather than pretending nothing happened, he acknowledges the past. He doesn't hide behind excuses or shift the blame. He accepts responsibility for the choices he made and understands how those choices affected you. More importantly, his actions show that he wants to do better. The third sign is consistency. Anyone can make an effort for a few days. Real change is revealed over weeks and months. He keeps showing up, communicates regularly, follows through on his promises, and doesn't disappear the moment things become comfortable again. The fourth sign is purposeful action. He's not relying on words alone. He's making plans, investing his time, creating opportunities to see you, and actively building a healthier relationship instead of expecting things to return to the way they were. Real change isn't something you hear. It's something you experience through consistent actions. This time, it doesn't feel like you're doing all the work to keep the relationship alive. One of the strongest signs of real change is that he shows up differently. You can sense it without him having to convince you. He's more attentive, more emotionally present, and far more respectful of your boundaries. Instead of feeling like you're trying to recreate what once existed, it feels as though the two of you are building something healthier from the ground up. Even if you notice all of those positive signs, don't rush. Give his actions enough time to speak for themselves. Stay connected to your own value, and remember that genuine commitment isn't measured by heartfelt conversations or a few good weeks. It's measured by consistent behavior over time. When a man is truly serious about having you in his life, you won't be left guessing. His actions will create clarity instead of confusion. You'll experience stability instead of uncertainty, and his words will naturally match what he does. Now let's talk about something that often gets overlooked. The biggest problem usually isn't that he disappeared. It's that the same pattern keeps repeating every time he comes back. If you're honest with yourself, this may not be the first time you've experienced it. He pulls away. You struggle through the pain and begin putting yourself back together. Just when you're finally starting to move forward, he reaches out again. Suddenly, all those emotions you worked so hard to heal come rushing back. That isn't random. It's a cycle. And cycles don't stop simply because time passes. They end only when someone changes the way they respond. This emotional pattern is powerful because it constantly swings between loss and relief. When he leaves, you're hurt. When he returns, you feel hopeful again. Those emotional extremes can make the relationship seem far more meaningful than it actually is. But what you're really experiencing isn't consistency, it's unpredictability. So instead of asking only why he keeps coming back, ask yourself something even more important. Why have I continued allowing the same pattern to begin again? That's where your real strength begins. Breaking the cycle doesn't mean becoming distant, bitter, or closed off. It means becoming conscious of what happened before. It means recognizing the behaviors you accepted, even though they didn't match the love and respect you deserve. Most importantly, it means understanding that this time the decision belongs to you. When he reaches out again, don't let emotion make the decision for you. Slow everything down. Watch. Listen. Pay attention. Don't immediately give him unlimited access to your time, your energy, or your heart. Allow him to meet the standards you've developed instead of settling for the version of you he once walked away from. And here's the mindset that changes everything. Stop asking whether he'll choose you. Start asking whether he's someone you would choose today. Those are completely different questions. Not every return deserves another opportunity. Sometimes people come back only to repeat the same story under different circumstances. But when you finally break that pattern, something remarkable happens. You stop living inside the cycle and start teaching people how they must treat you if they want a place in your life. That's when everything begins to change. So when he comes back after months of silence, remember that your response matters more than his message. Not because of the words you use, but because of the mindset behind them. This is the moment where you either repeat the past or choose a completely different future. Real confidence isn't about playing games or pretending you don't care. It isn't about ignoring him just to gain the upper hand. True confidence is quiet. It's the ability to stay calm instead of reacting impulsively. It's taking a moment before answering. It's choosing your response instead of letting your emotions choose it for you. And the very first step is simple. Don't feel pressured to reply immediately. Give yourself the time and space to think clearly. Someone who genuinely wants to reconnect won't disappear because you didn't respond within a few minutes or even a day. A meaningful connection can handle patience. Your peace is worth protecting, and the right person won't expect you to sacrifice it just because they've decided to come back. You no longer have to feel obligated to answer the moment his message appears. A confident response isn't driven by urgency. It's guided by clarity. If he reaches out, give yourself permission to pause. There's no rule that says you must reply immediately. In fact, taking your time allows you to think clearly instead of reacting emotionally. It also changes the dynamic by showing that your life no longer revolves around his attention. The next step is to keep your emotions balanced in the beginning. There's no need to pour out everything you're feeling or act overly excited just because he came back. Respond calmly and naturally. A simple, friendly reply is enough. By keeping things steady, you control the pace instead of letting your emotions take over. After that, focus on what he consistently does, not on what he promises. Confidence isn't about trying to read someone's mind. It's about paying attention to repeated actions. Does he make an effort to stay in touch? Is he creating meaningful conversations? Is he working to rebuild trust, or is he acting as though the past never happened? Let his behavior determine how much access he earns, not the words he chooses. Another important step is protecting the standards you've worked so hard to build. You're no longer the same person he walked away from, so don't respond as though nothing has changed. If he wants to be part of your life again, his actions should reflect the level of respect, effort, and maturity that matches the person you've become. Never lower your expectations simply because someone decided to return. And don't invest your heart too quickly. A single text isn't proof of commitment. One apology doesn't erase old patterns. One thoughtful conversation isn't enough to show lasting change. Strong relationships aren't rebuilt overnight. They develop through patience, consistency, and trust earned over time. When you approach the situation with confidence instead of fear, something powerful begins to happen. You stop waiting for someone else to give you certainty. Instead, you expect clarity before allowing someone back into your emotional world. That shift alone changes everything. It influences how he shows up and whether he continues showing up at all. At the end of the day, this story has never been only about the fact that he came back. It's about who you choose to be when he does. Every return is an opportunity to see how much you've grown. It's a reflection of the standards you've developed and the value you now place on yourself. Taking your power back starts with recognizing one important truth. You aren't the person you were when he left. Maybe you once questioned your worth. Maybe you overthought every message, gave too much, or ignored your own needs just to keep the relationship alive. Today you see things with greater clarity. You recognize unhealthy patterns. You notice inconsistency much sooner. Most importantly, you've stopped sacrificing your own well-being just to receive temporary attention. Self-worth isn't something you announce to the world. It's revealed through your choices. It's reflected in your willingness to slow down instead of rushing. It's visible in the way you protect your time, your energy, and your emotional peace. It's found in your ability to pause before reacting, and in your strength to walk away from confusion, even when it feels familiar. Because familiarity isn't always the same as security. Reclaiming your power means understanding that emotional intensity should never be mistaken for emotional safety. A relationship can feel exciting and still be unhealthy. Likewise, someone's return doesn't automatically entitle them to the same version of you they left behind. Now you make decisions from a place of wisdom rather than emotion. You ask deeper questions. You observe longer before trusting. You believe actions more than promises. And you no longer feel responsible for filling every silence simply because someone decided to return. Perhaps the biggest transformation is this. You stop treating his return as proof of your value. Your worth was never determined by whether he stayed, left, or came back. It has always belonged to you. The difference now is that you finally recognize it. When you fully step into your self-worth, you stop chasing explanations that may never come. You stop accepting confusion as a normal part of love. You refuse to compromise your boundaries just to make someone else comfortable. Instead, you choose peace over uncertainty. You choose consistency over empty potential. Most importantly, you choose yourself over relationships that keep repeating the same painful cycle. And when you make those choices, something naturally changes. You don't just respond to love differently, you begin attracting healthier love as well. The moment you stop settling for less than you deserve is the moment your life begins aligning with people who respect your growth. And from that point forward, your self-worth is no longer something you negotiate. It's simply the standard you live by.